Well, that sucked. Nah, I'm kidding. That was actually pretty fun. Yeah, this week we're discussing, Gaim versus Tokuger, or Tokuger versus Gaim, and Kyoryuger versus Go Busters. Now, both of these kind of came out on some odd timing, because, well, practically in days of each other when you think of it, at least in the subbing community. Overtime did a good job in getting it out fast this week. In fact, I'm recording this Monday morning. Yeah, and the thing aired not even 2 days ago. So, Go Busters versus Kyoryuger. Very little Go Busters. I was surprised at that. Granted, I hate Go Busters, but it was mainly due to the writing, and Yasuko Kobayashi was not on this one. So, I have to fix the camera stand. Damn thing keeps dropping. Anyways, Neo Graffolger and Neo... I'm forgetting the Japanese guy's name. Neo Zeltrax. I'm really hoping they adapt at least parts of this movie, because the final battle is a team-up of all three of the Dino teams. Zyuranger, Abaranger, and Kyoryuger. And there's very little Go Busters in the entire movie, which, well, sits fine with me, because, as I said, I didn't like Go Busters. So you really could edit them out, especially since they're not in the big final battle scenes where, you can write around that. Granted, the writing in Power Rangers the last few years has sucked, but, get better writing team on there, you can totally do that. I'm just going to use the American names, because I need to check why don't I just pull up the wiki article before I do this? Sorry, I've been doing prop work stuff. And then I have the camera right in front of my computer. Anyways, Neo Graffolger and Neo Gildon. And, yeah, that's the, those were the revived guys. Now, it's Goldar and Zeltrax, for those not familiar with Sentai. And they're, like, perfect representations of them. It's a lot different than both of the shows used them, but Zyuranger's 22 years old. Wow. And Abaranger's 12, maybe 11 years old. They're 1 and 2 decades a piece difference, and design schema for monsters changes over the years. They've gotten a lot more detailed, have had a lot more addendums to them, but they still look and feel a lot like the original outfits. I mean, they got a lot of the similar design schema, even though, updated designs. They're capturing the old Dino teams to get to the Dino Hope, which is a representation of the righteous powers of the dinosaur teams, the Zyuranger, the Abaranger, and the Kyoryuger. And they're using, funny story. They got the core Rangers for both the Zyuranger and Abaranger teams back. So the main 5 minus Dragon Ranger and the main 3 Abarangers minus Abare Black and Abare Killer. So that's a team up of 14 Dino Team Rangers. Now, they couldn't get everybody back, obviously. Burai's dead. Uriah's Dragon Ranger, the Green Ranger, and they couldn't get Mikoto, Outbreak Killer, back because he's dead. Yeah, there's a running theme where in every dinosaur series at least one ranger dies. And they couldn't get Outbreak Black back because he is from another dimension. I don't know how they got him back for Gokaiger, but considering Outbreak Killer was there, that's something that just has to be ignored. Anyways, they captured Geki and Ryoga, their Tyranno Ranger and Aba Ranger, to get to this Dino Hope thing. And then they brought in the D-Boss, which makes sense, and they brought in the Vagras. The Vagras were the bad guys of Go Busters, and they're dead. They're not dead, they're extra dead. Their programs were deleted. Not only were they were deleted in another reality that ceased to exist after they were deleted, because the Vagras program was what was keeping this dimension in hyperspace as a physical plane of existence and not just a plane of energy, which is that. They say it's a backup program, but you can't have a backup program on something that was wiped from existence. Granted, they show it's from a Messiah card, but they destroyed all the Messiah cards. Messiah cards were introduced in the mid to late 30s of Go Busters after they soft rebooted the enemies because, well, the enemies sucked. They really didn't have much of a motive throughout the entire series aside from get Messiah to Earth. And Messiah is the virus that... And what did Messiah do when he... Yeah, he had no real motivations aside from exist. It's kind of like the neo-organism from the Zeto movie. Anyways, there's this subplot about a CGI dinosaur with fur. I know, it's a recent reinterpretation of the Tyrannosaurus that they had some kind of mane on them, and that was kind of part of the design scheme of Gabutira. Actually, it's a time-displaced version of Gabutira from before he became a giant mechanical Tyrannosaurus. And yeah, that's part of the subplot, not overarching plot of the special movie. Damn it, I'm tired. Yeah, they want to go back in time and exterminate all of the dinosaurs so that they won't exist to create the teams that they fought against. I don't think that works that way. Now, I haven't watched Z-Ranger, so I'm not completely certain, but Aba Ranger at least was an alternate reality. They're not exactly going to be able to get rid of the Tyrannosaurs, or the dinosaurs that existed in an alternate reality. Now, maybe I'm missing something from Aba Ranger 2, and it was a splintered dimension caused by the meteor that caused the dinosaur extinction, like in the Super Mario Bros. Movie. In fact, I could probably check that out right now. Yeah, since I'm on the wiki page. Here's Sentai Aba Ranger. Yeah, it's the plot of, it's the plot of the Super Mario Bros. Movie. I guessed that. Yeah, exact same thing, alternate parallel universe with where it crosses over with this one. That was actually adapted better from the same premise. Granted, I like that movie, but I'm not a big fan of Mario anyways, so I'm not one of those that goes nuts over it. And structurally, the Super Mario movie is not bad. I mean, it's cheesy 90s stuff, but not that bad. Anyways, okay, so that works then. Yeah, kill the dinosaurs before the extinction event, or whatever, or all of the events that led to their ascension to mechanical beasts. Yeah, I'm not sure if that would work with I'm blanking on the Zero Ranger stuff. I think that might work, but I'm wondering how then, because part of the Kyoryuger lore is they were changed by the power of the Earth and the melody of the Earth and Zero Ranger. Anyways, they need to corrupt the power of the dinosaur teams to get to this Dino Hope thing. And they do that with Geki and Ryoga, who are Tyranno Ranger and Appa Ranger, and they end up fighting the Kyoryuger, who get backed up by the Go-Busters, at least the core Go-Busters at this point in the movie. Then Neo-Grafforzer grows, and and creates this energy field that traps, well, at least stops the Zyuden Ryu from getting through to them, but since Gabutyr was playing as Minitira, you know, the little thing that allows for carnival transformations, he's in, and Neo-Grafforzer uses that as a conduit to corrupt all of the Kyoryuger's powers and use them as mind slaves to go back in time. Super Sentai needs to stop using time travel in every other movie. It's getting old. Anyways, they go back in time and start hunting down their partners, and it's thanks to something that they break out of it. I'm blanking on the actual thing, as it's been a few days since I actually watched the movie. It was Yukito Sanjo, Albre Blue, showing up and using Super Sentai Beast batteries. Yeah, apparently those were developed to channel because the Kyoryugers used bravery as energy, and that means any of the Sentai can use this power as long as they're used as a conduit correctly. So, yeah, they use that to contact and break the brainwashing on the Kyoryuger, and they come back in time, and while their powers are still out because of jamming produced by Vaglas and the Neo-Grafforzer and pretty much all of the allied evil forces. And then, oh, Masato, you were the saving grace of Go-Busters. Masato Jin is played by, Masato Jin is Beatbuster, the gold of the Go-Buster team, and played by the Go-Buster team. He is Beatbuster. He's played by the same man who did Maji Yellow in Maji Ranger, and they've been doing the odd reference, but thing is, he's dead. Yeah, most of the series we see him in Go-Busters, he is a hard-light holographic projection produced by his buddy Royd, who is Stagbuster. He's an actual sentient robot playing a Sentai character. Yeah, it's a bit weird. And he would project Masato into reality while his real body was placed in cryogenic stasis until they could retrieve him, because he got old. Except in the finale to Go-Busters, he kind of destroyed his stasis cell, so, and without the stasis cell, he couldn't hope to transit back to reality. And, yeah, kind of died when reality collapsed. But since Vagras came back, he had a backup program in the case that Vagras came back. You know, could have used it and researched it to give him a body for the rest of a human lifespan. Just a thought. Anyways, they destroy the holding cells for Geki and Ryoga, who go out to back up the Kyoryuger, and then something awesome happens. Because we get a scene of the morphers, the Dino Bucklers from Zero Ranger, because the bad guys had collected them all from the others off screen. Yeah, they got back all of the actors who played the Zero Ranger to do voices. They actually got the people who did the series, and it's not just them. I said Yukito Abre Blue came back earlier. They also got the actor for Renru isn't her name. They got back. Now I'm just looking for the actor thing on the Wikipedia page. Homeworld first appearance, last appearance. Aiko Ito. They got her back to do. They got her back to do the voice of Opera Yellow, and the last 20 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes, is a long battle of all of the dinosaur-themed teams, and it was awesome. I have one minor complaint, and that they didn't have a team-up of Armed Tyranno Ranger, Abre Max, and Kyoru Red Carnival. Now, that's the super forms of each of the team's Reds, and fighting together to take down Neo Graffolzer. Now, overall, that's a minor complaint, all things considered, because this was pretty damn awesome, because they pretty much, they dominated this fight, and granted, Neo Graffolzer kind of, he didn't grow after this, after they combined all the weapons, and they combined all of the weapons. All of the, in an odd CGI thing that makes you think they really connect, but they don't, because the toys weren't exactly made to interface, and, point is, they blast Graffolzer, and he absorbs the energy, but, it's an explosion, you can't really absorb the energy without exploding, and he uses it to channel it into a giant dragonoid dinosaur with 6 heads. It's kind of like a Hydra, called Space War God Borudozu. And it's apparently a similar life form to D-Boss due to a throwaway line. I hate when these movies do throwaway lines. You gotta explain how this happens. Anyways, it breaks out of its asteroid prison from however it revived Graffolzer, and anyways, it's apparently a entity that was empowered by the destruction of Dai Satan, which people who've seen Power Rangers know as the giant floating head thing from Doomsday. I'm actually blanking on the name of, well, I could just click the link and check. Lokar from Power Rangers, and also Wicked Life God Dezu Mozori, which was never seen in Dino Thunder, I don't think. Anyways, it reincarnates, and they summon all the Megazords. All the core Megazords. Daizujin, Operan O, and Kyoryujin. Raiden Kyoryujin for this one. How they did it before they did the ground battle, which, again, is stupid, because then it wouldn't allow for the, dinosaur team, a super dinosaur form team-up. They could have just easily done that after the battle, but no. Minor complaint. So they summon all the mechs, and they do badly. And then the Go Busters appear, and they summon Tatsugami Ryo, which is a motorcycle-themed lion mech, which was their mid-season mecha upgrade. And they use it. One of its weapons is it opens its mouth and fires a giant laser. So they pretty much do that, in that they combine the powers of the mechs, combine their powers unleashed through the mechs to blow it away. Yeah. You really could write the Go Busters out of this movie and pretty much still have been able to do most of it. I think it was more contract that they were contractually obligated and required to do this movie, because they could have easily done it without them. And it really wouldn't have changed much. Since Saban is skipping Go Busters and instead adapting Killrager next year, like I said, get some damn good... No, not damn good writers. Get some decent writers on this one. And that would not be a bad team-up. But, you know, with all the cameos they're doing this year, cameo overload, pretty much. I liked it. The subtitlers who were first on the scene were adapting the term Zuden into Dino Charge. That's not what it means! Zuden is a portmanteau of Ju, which is beast, and Den is short for Denshi. Denshi is the Japanese word for battery. Beast, battery. And Zuden is a onomatopoeia sound. All of the Kyoryuger equipment is like that. Galbutira, Chomp, Tyranno. It's a new upstart group that were the first on the scene for this thing. And I know I'm complaining about subtitlings again, but the team is called Imagination Station. They were terrible. I know, be complaining about subs again, but wow, there was a lot wrong. And not just my thing about the Zuden line, because wikis! A lot of the common term translation, you start off with the wikis. You check what the common translation is, what the accepted translation is, what the official translation is. This is not my thing about Sengoku and warring with Izir subs, because that is a context issue. This is actually mislabeling something in a translation. That is a legitimate complaint and grievance with a group of translators, because they're doing it wrong. Like I said, Sengoku and warring, that's a personal issue of mine, because it's a noun. There are certain types of nouns, like names, you don't translate. This is getting terminology wrong. And I am going to be irritated more, because they've got about a half dozen episodes of Abba Ranger translated, and they're likely going to be the first ones to finish the translation of Abba Ranger, and I am just going to be facepalming the entire time I get to that series, because I am expecting them to do so many translations that will match the Power Rangers equivalents and not be accurate to what's actually being said. There's a thing on my blog about we do not ruin Sentai a rebuttal. This is just proof that you really are. Because the key to translation is accuracy. It's my thing about respecting the source material. You gotta respect them in an adaptation, you respect the source material, and you gotta make sure your story doesn't suck. When you're adapting what it's being said for an audience, you need to be respectful of the source material and faithfully tribute what's being said in a manner that makes sense to the context of the language. Not what makes sense to the context of adaptations of that series that may have been seen by everybody else. You know, I think I now understand the subs versus dub argument from some people. I mean, I prefer dubs personally because they're getting another group of actors to play this stuff, and there are a lot of bad dubs. I understand that, but that's casting bad voice actors in bad direction, and again, that's kind of the same thing. Adapting the scripting badly. Yeah, it is kind of the same thing. It is the same thing. But it's also an issue with subtitling, too, if it's not accurate or done well, and I've got experience with doing subtitles. I mean, I fixed Black RX. Yeah, beginning of my videos on Black RX, I went back and fixed all of the subtitles for that as best I could with my lacking knowledge of the language, and I still did better than the guys who did it originally, and Took, what, 3 days? 5 days? I'm sticking on this. And I've tracked down the guys. I mentioned it to them in comments. They're probably ignoring it because it's one among many comments, but what the hell? This is my show. I get to bitch about what I want. Moving on. Toku versus Gaim. This was a spring break special that aired 2 days ago. As I said at the beginning, I actually kind of liked it. I mean, they addressed several things that I thought were kind of good. Toku roll into Zawame Station, and after seeing Mai's dance group, which really don't have the Gaim labels, or maybe that's just their winter wear, because, yeah, they see the dance off, and then Bottom comes into town. Yeah, Bottom were the enemy of Kamen Rider Z-Cross in 1985, and this was cross-promotion for the Kamen Rider Tyson film, which started airing in theaters yesterday in Japan. So this was sort of a lead-in to it and a tie-in, and I'm not going to be able to get to that movie until December due to DVD release and translation. So I'm not really going to be discussing the issues with that I have right now. Suffice to say, I don't like the concept because it's the third Rider War. I'm not even kidding about that. Ryuki decayed this movie. So, Bottom rolls in the normal monster attack fashion, but this is Zawame, and as the Toku are about to battle them, in comes Kota, and they start the transformation sequences, and after they start the transformation sequences, they catch on that, hey, someone else is there transforming, and they comment on the orange coming down, and the trains coming around to create the face masks, and there was a lot of comedy in this, as expected from Toku. I actually found a few of the jokes funny. I think they were written well with the, what are you doing here? Us? What are you doing here? And Kota knows about the riders, but not so much about... Kota knows about other riders due to the end events of Wizard and the, Wizard crossover movie that would have been in canon around this point. But he doesn't know about Sentai. The Toku really don't know about Sentai either, because, yeah, this was odd timing. They had a sneak peek cameo appearance at the end of Go Busters vs. Kyuger, and I mean the very end, as in after the credits rolled. They were that embarrassed about this. They even did one of these stupid soundtracks, like you're not supposed to take this bit seriously thing, like you'd expect from the Three Stooges, or I'm blanking on comedy bands. It's like do 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 do. That kind of beat. That was kind of like what it was, and they pretty much killed Neo Zeltrax on their own, because he somehow escaped the final battle intact somehow, and he was kind of flabbergasted. Granted, they play off of the flabbergasted, seriously, you're doing this thing, a lot in this one too. Anyways, they're fighting Bottom, and the Bottom Kaijin is the Mole Kaijin. I'm blanking on the term they used for it, but it pretty much digs into the soil to find this energy where other Kaijin are, and thing is, he's doing it in Zawame, so he's releasing cracks all over the place, and as by proxy, Inves. So, an Invis appears and then goes back into the crack, which Wright chases, so Gaim has to go after him. And the rest take care of it, and of the monsters, no, not monsters, foot soldiers. I'm very tired. And the rest of the team gets filled in by Michi, who comes out of nowhere after Mai is baffled by the Tokuger's premise. Oh, trust me, Mai, I am there with you. And while he does that, Wright finds himself in the Helheim Forest. Guess what he does? He looks at the fruits and tries to eat one. Now, the Helheim fruits have a enchantment on them that make them look tasty and make people want to eat them by appearance and pheromones and glamours. And thing is, it doesn't work on those in a transformed state. And Wright came to this conclusion, well, in a transformed state, meaning that was him being him and not being influenced by a spell. I've stated many times over the past weeks how much Wright is an idiot. Yeah. Fortunately, Koto was there to stop him. Yay. Yeah, I'm not actually blaming him on this one, because he didn't know, and most of the other people who ate the fruits didn't know, so it's not like this was just... It wasn't like it was a fruit that made itself look disgusting, or venomous, or... He was being an idiot, but more intelligent people have been tricked by these fruits into eating them, is what I'm trying to get at. It was an in-character action, and segued into the team learning the dangers of Helheim. And I liked that. I did. I just wish... This is my running thing. I wish the team were not made up of idiots. Anyways, both sides explain the premise of their show, and they're pretty accepting of it. Kota can see the train, as Wright's escorting him to the train to see if they can't get a lead on the mole Imogen. Narutaki appears! Narutaki appears for this quick cameo, with a monkey puppet. And he gives Gaim a pass, saying he is an ally of the Riders. Please, for the love of God, tell me he's in Kamen Rider Tyson, and we finally know what his deal is. Because please prove me correct on this. I have been saying for years now that he is the latest incarnation of the great leader of Shocker, and by proxy, the leader of all of these organizations from the Showa era that keep popping up. Dai Shocker. I'm blanking on the one that was in, yeah, that was Dai Shocker in Superior Tyson 1, and I think it was just Super Shocker? Space Shocker in Superior Tyson Z. Let him be in the movie. Let us finally get the proof that he's the great leader, because that is the only thing that makes sense in context, because great leader is a shapeshifter. Now, granted, it would be nice if they retired the great leader character because of Goro Naya passing away last year. But they've been using this character since 2009, and we still don't know what his deal is. And that's his only... That is the only thing he does in this special. Give a Rainbow Line pass to Kota so he can get on the train. Then he disappears into a dimensional curtain, saying he is an ally of the Riders, even though he is one of the inciting factors of the last Rider War. I really hope he's in the movie and we finally learn what his deal is. Because he is in practically everything that has Masahiro Inoue, Tsukasa Kadoya, Comrade Decade in it. And Tsukasa was brought back for this movie. Anyways, the Invest reemerges, and after Kota says that this is his deal, this is his city, he's the one protecting it, they have their own stuff to take care of, they shouldn't be taking on more than they can handle, which is very mature and something that they needed to be told, but Kota is also wrong on that, in that this might be out of his hand as well, and while the conductor guy agrees with Kota in that they have their own stuff to deal with, doesn't mean they can't help out while they're here. And so the Tokuger come and fight the Invest of the episode, which the Invest gets shot down by the Tokuger's basic weapon finishing moves, but before he dies, he finds a bunch of immature Helheim fruits emerged from a crack and eats them, and then grows giant-sized. Order of succession with the Invest fruits. Animals eat them, and they change into basic Invests. Humans eat them, they change into advanced Invests. Normal Invests, the ones changed from animals, eat a mature lock seed. That's the one after it's been changed into a lock seed and is no longer the fruit, and they change into a mature Invest. If they keep eating mature lock seeds, they turn into a larger monster. That's the key there. Mature lock seeds. And they only really get about 2 to 3 times human size versus the way big monsters that are usually called up for the Zord battles. And he does this by eating, and here's the key thing here, immature lock seeds. The ones that do not advance the Invest's evolution anymore without them maturing. Now this is key because otherwise any Invest would have eventually gone giant-sized, and before this, no Invest has done so. They've only grown larger than human size by eating mature lock seeds and not the fruits. Not even the fruits in mass. Why? Oh, right. Because they have to have a Zord battle. There's a subplot in this episode where Takatoro Bata does not believe Michi or anybody else about the Tokuger's existence or about Bottom, which is really stupid. I mean, yeah, he doesn't see the alliance of Ryoma, Yoko, and Sid trying to take the power of the Helheim and make them the lords of all magic or something, and the betrayal that's coming from others, whereas pretty much Gaim is pretty much out in the open with denying his methodology. But he's not this stupid. He really isn't, especially since, he's on the forefront of stopping the end of the fucking world. So, variables like other monster teams that might manipulate the Helheim Forest from being in Zawami, he should be all over that. And yet, he's talking on his phone, Zord battle right outside his fucking window, and he misses it. I hate this gag. And this gag has popped up other places too. I hate it. Sometimes it can be funny. Most of the time it's not used in a funny way. Or it's used with the wrong character, and Takatoro Bata is the worst character you could have done this with. Maybe if it was Baron or Hell, it would have been funny with Ryoma, because he's all obsessive over the power of the Helheim Forest, as we've learned, and something that can create giant invests. He would probably be all over testing that. In fact, he would, because he's created tiny invests in the lab. He'd probably be very interested in a method of creating lock seeds that create giant forms of riders, and not just the watermelon lock seed, which is power armor. Really, it is pretty much just power armor, as in the Starship Trooper styled one, where you put on a suit and then you get in a pseudo-mech that's... Moving on. That actually only covers about half of... Why is there... Recording stopped on me, didn't it? Anyways, yeah, that's only part 1. Because they're still tracking down the mole kaijin. And then the part 2, which immediately plays after with, is Kota using the Toku to get Mai out of Zawame. It backfires. Granted, he's got a good idea, because he knows things are going to get worse and doesn't want her to be there, which is what Michi should have told her to do, but Michi is kind of this grasping onto what he had instead of embracing change, and he's becoming the villain. I really think he's going to become the villain of this, because no one's doing what he says and how they should do it and how they say it, and I'm acting, and yeah, Kota tries to trick Mai into leaving on the train, and then Wagon spoils it when Wright tries to explain why they shouldn't tell her what they're doing to the others, and she gets off at the next stop, which is the eastern side of Zawame, and then she's caught, and they have to rescue her, and that takes up most of the rest of the special. Yeah, most of the second half of the special is a fight scene. They get Kaito involved, somehow. I don't know. The Mole Kaijin succeeds in getting one of his, Badan brethren out of the underworld, I don't know, instead of just opening cracks, and so he gets another mole out, which is probably what his entire job was supposed to do in this town. Again, bad place to do it, because there's already an overriding dimensional invasion happening, but whatever. And they try to use Mai as a hostage, so they'll leave them alone while they're doing this, because they're not interested in Zawame, they just need more monsters. Yeah, so they rescue her, and most of the rest of the episode's a fight scene in eliminating the mole monsters. But we get 4 other cameos from Kamen Riders Ichigo, Nigo, and V3, none of them voiced by their actual actors, but what can I say, this is a TV special, so can't really shell out for the returning actors. And they intercede in a fight with Kamen Rider 15. Kamen Rider 15 is a new Kamen Rider for the Kamen Rider Tyson movie. He is the antagonist in the movie, and he uses a skull-themed lock seed, and is changing all of the riders into lock seeds for his use. We know he has armor based on Force, Wizard, and Decayed, based on the same lock seeds. Presumably some of them are gotten from the War Dimension Riders, which were featured in the the Wizard Gaim Tyson movie that was last winter. Anyways, cameo to show he is a badass, because he takes a Rider Punch and Rider Kick from Nigo and Ichigo respectively before retreating. So, no real damage, while Gaim shows off more powers of the awesome Kachidoki arms. He turns his Tanegashima, connects with the Muso Saber, makes his Zanbato. Awesome. Oh, and I love the cry on that, though, because it goes from 1, 10, 100, 1,000, million, trillion, unlimited power! I like that. And yeah, that's how Gaim kills it, and special ends with Kota and company seeing the Tokyers off to the next destination. Overall, I'd say it's good, but I still say there's that conflict of the themes of growing up in Gaim with the overall childishness of Tokuger. And I'm saying childishness instead of juvenileism, being juvenile, because it's less so now that they're starting to get their footing, but it's a kid-oriented show, I get that, but you don't have to write it so that only the most stupid of kids can get that. And people use it's a kid's show to shrug off criticism when it's really more of an insult, as a lot of kids shows, the most well-recepted kids shows have a running theme in that they are as good as when they are great as kids, and they're just as good to be viewed by adults. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, Batman the Animated Series from the 90s, Avatar The Last Airbender, Avatar The Legend of Korra, Adventure Time, which, while silly, has a lot of mature themes woven into it, especially with all the background with this nuclear war that caused this universe. A lot of kids' shows can have mature themes that keep audiences entertained. Doctor Who started off as a kids' show, and yet it evolved to have a larger and larger audience. The key here is kid demographic, but friendly for all. That is what a lot of children's programming does wrong. They focus on the lowest common demographic they can, and exclusively to that, with the exclusion of all fans that got moved to an older demographic. Because when something is good, it is good no matter the age group that views it. That is why It's a Kid's Show is an insult these days, and not a shrugging off of criticism. And that's the problem Sentai has had the last few years. They go for the really small kid demographic, and they've lost viewers because of that. I'm doing these Toku vlogs more for, I want to understand the process and be able to look back on my thoughts later, because they've been having a rough couple of years. I've said that in other material. And I'm glad this was better than I expected it to be. I expected for them to swing more Tokuger and just have some silliness with the Gaim characters, as the next arc is going to get painful because it's Urobuchi, and Urobuchi is... yeah. So yeah, good week. I'm looking forward to more character building next week. I think it was implied with Tokuger, and then we get more long-term plans coming with Gaim. Yes, I've seen the Baron Lemon Energy Arms thing. That was... I really wanted him to go Jinba, but beggars can't be choosers. And we finally get more of the Overlord invests, as in more than the red one we've been seeing the last few weeks. There's also a green one, and presumably a blue to match the 3 varieties of basic invests we've seen. In fact, we've seen green advanced invests and blue advanced invests. So we know there are 3 tribes of invests. We just don't know the relevance of them, because all of them have been pretty bestial, instinctual, and not moved up to being able to be sentient, reasoning creatures. But that'll have to wait for a week. See y'all.